Good morning. Welcome to the Portal to Justice, the window to the truth. I'm your host, Aleah Duran, and it is July 19th, 2019. And that was Zeph Daniel original music. It's available on iTunes. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to the show, live from Texas. I'm going to be having on this morning a little bit later in the show. I'm standing by here. I'm going live with guest Aleah Holland. She is the author of the book A Little Lynch. And she's been really, speaking out the controversial truth for a very long time, about the corrupt judges. And she really tells it like it is, how they're targeting good families, contriving poverty and homelessness. And it's no coincidence to me that there is this epidemic of homelessness in Los Angeles, California, that is home to the global headquarters to Child Protective Services and some of the largest family courts, most corrupt, as well as, the immigration problem. And a lot of people have this perspective that the federal incentives only apply to, children on American soil or children. There's 24 displaced children on 24 million displaced children on American soil. And then we also have children coming in every day at our borders. And it's an apple cart for Congress. It's a huge apple cart. And not only that, the federal incentives also apply to some of our most vulnerable in society, the homeless and developmentally, mentally delayed, the elderly. So it's a massive, huge system that it's kind of like, when you have a plant in a pot and the roots have just become so overgrown. They're growing out the sides of the pot. The pot is cracked. The roots are completely exposed. Everyone can see the roots of what's happening. And this potted plant needs to be transplanted into a bigger pot. And that's just an imagery there that I want to use. But we're seeing like so much targeting and gang stalking as all of this comes to light. The targeting and gang stalking is really becoming obvious, and that whole perspective on that is changing as well. There's this sort of bullying and targeting from both sides. And the thing is I want people to understand that everything is infiltrated. Every race, religion, culture is infiltrated from the top down. I mean, even the Jewish community is infiltrated and has their infiltrators. And there's this, bullying to get people to conform or to label them, because that then becomes a weakness to these people, these gang stalkers. And it can be used against you. Everything that you say, everything that you do becomes, fodder for them to target and gang stalk you. Especially, I think, in AA as well. It's like there's this, this bullying that goes on to conform to, it's all about conformity is really what it's about. But, I often will see, I was forced to go through 3 rehab programs in my family case plan for 3 years in the juvenile courts. And, people are human beings. And if you target them to death for years and they eventually fall off the wagon and they've been sober for years, especially when it comes to drugs, and this really irks me, and I want to point this out. They will target these people, someone that's sober. Like, I've had several friends that I've seen perish from this, and it's such a sad scenario. But they will target until it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when these people finally, fall off the wagon, they've been sober for so long, they no longer have the tolerance that they used to have, but they may go back to using whatever their drug of choice was. Someone will step in from the gang stalking side and they'll say, hey, let me fix you up. And then, they will overdose and die. And these people get loosh from that. They get energy from that. They actually get points. This death cult. They are a death cult. They are all about conformity, bondage, or death. And that's what this comes down to. So I just want to point some of this out, because this is what we're seeing. They will target, disparage, slander. And if they don't have something on you, they will make it up. And they will use labels as a weakness against you. And so this is what we're witnessing on a large scale right now, because the human traffickers are being exposed. The roots are all out in the open. These people can be seen. You can see all their hand signs and everything. I mean, it's ridiculous when you go to the courts and you see the bailiff and the judge, and everybody's using these hand signs, and the gangs use the hand signs, the pimps and the traffickers, and they're all communicating together with these symbols. And, even when you go in to get your court records, and they don't want you to have access to certain records, they'll use these hand signals to each other to communicate. Like you don't notice. They're doing it right in front of you, but you don't understand because we're in on the secret. That is what is being exposed. These are the tactics that are being exposed. This is what we're being shown right now, because everything is coming out, and it's under the Trump administration that the human trafficking is being exposed. And there is this desperate attempt to get everyone to conform and come down, be exposed as somehow, implicated in these crimes. And I'm also being heavily targeted, and so are some of my friends that are speaking out on these issues. And it's really hard to go through. It's really, we're human beings. And we're not, without fault or shame. They're the human condition. It's all a learning process. And, we can be warned and we can be told, but sometimes God is using us to in ways that we don't know to expose these issues. So it's been very hard, and it's been very humbling, but, and I will often use, dark imagery or occult imagery to expose some of these agendas in my work. And I just want to say to some of the people that are, I also have people on the very religious side, the, very orthodox side, that are criticizing me and trying to label me as pagan. And then I also have people on the gang stalking side that are trying to label me and force me to conform. So the infiltration is everywhere, throughout everything. And I just want to let people know that, I may use some disturbing imagery, but if you're hung up on labeling me, folks, or you're going to completely miss very often what evil truly is. And it's not dark imagery or art. Evil is the false light. And very often it hides behind wholesome imagery, even bigotry or religious zealotry. And it imposes dogmas on people, even, being gay or sexuality is being used as a weapon. It's weaponized now, and your sexuality is supposed to give you special privileges and special powers over others. It's a dogma being imposed and used for targeting. And that's another objective for conformity. All art is subjective. And I often will use imagery to expose these dark agendas or to provoke specific emotions in people so that it gives you, the person, an opportunity to change your perspective on some of these things and the true reality that we live in. It doesn't mean that I personally subscribe to any of these, occult beliefs or images, or that is, to label me. I personally do not believe in religion. I don't believe that Christ had a church or that he was religious necessarily. That's my personal belief, and I don't really impose that. I'm not interested in imposing that on anyone. It's, something very personal to me, to my heart. And yeah. So there's just a lot of controversy out there right now. Emotions are really high and heated. Anytime we have children and families involved in these, crimes,